Hey, hey, hey. So, are you ready for a historical discussion from a drunk old man? Well, if that's true, then you are in luck. Because today's video is about military cadences. Hell, I even dug up one of my old multicam tops. It's well over a decade old. Marching is important in the military. It is the cheapest way to get a group of soldiers from point A to point B. And it helps keep soldiers in shape. Plus, it does not require loud engines of the vehicles that often break down. Well, let's be honest, they're always broken. On the rare instances that they are actually running properly, then you're low on fuel. And plus, before you can get a vehicle, you have to do your 5958s, your QAQCs, then you got to dispatch it. So you got to go to the clerk who's never there. He's always off on some detail because Sergeant Major thinks, or he's there and there's no NCO in the motor pool to sign off on it. I mean, vehicles are difficult to deal with. Plus, marching can be painful. They overload you with too much weight, people roll ankles, you get blisters, and your feet bleed. And if soldiers aren't in pain, then I don't think leadership can actually be happy. During the Revolutionary War, the French military sent over Baron von Steuben to help train the United States Army. People are quick to point out that he's Prussian, but he was a general in the French army, and yes, the French helped us out a great deal during the Revolutionary War. Now, Steuben brought over a number of European military techniques, many of which, while modified, still persist to this day. Things such as the fact that we put an NCO in the front and an officer in the rear when we have formation. And then whenever there's an announcement, the officer comes to the front, NCO hands it over. Yeah, Steuben. A lot of our facing maneuvers. Yep, Steuben. Military terminology, reveille and retreat. Yep, Steuben. A lot of things that we still use to this day. One of which is the way we march. The beating of the drum while soldiers march. That was brought over by Steuben. The use of the rhythm of the drum to set the pace for the speed they wanted the men to march to. Double time was actually not a command to the soldiers. It was a command to the drummer. Because you weren't marching a platoon or a company or a battalion. No, you were marching divisions. You were marching tens of thousands of people from battle to battle. Yeah. Now, also, a lot of military terms are still used in marching band today. Now, I learned this from my amazingly talented daughter. First female underclassman drum major in her school's history. She's amazing. She's a badass. I love you, daughter. Now, this was eventually replaced by the modern cadence that the United States military uses today. Now, this began as documented in the spring of 1944 by Colonel Bernard Lentz with Sound Off, the Duckworth Chant. It's called the Duckworth Chant because it has been credited to Private Willie Lee Duckworth from Sandersville, Georgia. Now, Duckworth was a black soldier serving in the United States Army. Colonel Lentz was the post commander, and he happened upon Duckworth's unit marching, and he was highly impressed. So, I'm aware that I'm long-winded, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I think it would be pertinent to discuss call and response from American history. Alright, here we go. There was a time when the United States participated in the Atlantic slave trade. Now, it is terrible. It is a blemish on American history. And no reasonable person can defend the morality of slavery. Not in any era, not by any group of people. It's wrong. It's also part of history, so it shouldn't be hidden. It should be discussed. And the people of the 18th century who were enslaved in the United States were black. And the slaves would sing. It was a part of the culture. A lot of hymns, a lot of great musical stylings have come from this period. So much amazing music came from such a terrible thing. One of those is call and response. And that's the one I want to talk about right now. Call and response may not be the most heralded of the musical stylings to come from that terrible time period. But I gotta say, it's my favorite. I mean, when you take into account how it came to be, I don't know how you don't just raise a glass and say, yes. So, often one would use coded messages. One would sing a song, and this isn't a real one, just something I came up with. My favorite color is, and you leave a blank spot for everyone else to respond. Now, obviously, the answer is green, because green's the most awesome color ever. But let's say someone out there responds with red. My favorite color is green, 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 red. Now, obviously, they only responded with red, which is a terrible color, as a warning to look out, because slave owners or one working for them was there. So, heads up, look out, warning. Come on, how brilliant is that? Now, this is why I think pointing out that Private Willie Lee Duckworth was a black soldier is important. At the time, units were segregated, right? And being from Sandersville, Georgia, this was something that would have been familiar and part of Duckworth's culture. So, when this white colonel, inspecting his post, comes across this black unit, and he hears these guys are doing a call and response. Well, it's not familiar to Colonel Dents, but he thought it was awesome. He was highly impressed, because you know what? It is pretty awesome. So, he shared it with the rest of the army. It became military tradition. And I think it's cool that he shared credit with this young private. And sound off, yeah, I prefer calling it the Duckworth chant, because it just reminds me of the history behind our cadences. So the original name of modern cadences were Jody calls. Oh, who's Jody? Well, Jody is a character that is taking care of your wife or girlfriend or whatever. Driving your car, eating your food, sleeping in your bed, doing all those things that you should be doing if you are home. But he's home, and you're here, being abused by the Army. Now, traditionally, cadences were dirty and offensive to civilians, humorous to those of us that are actually in the situation and dealing with it. Now, I don't know if it's been completely taken away, but I do know it's been greatly watered down by a wave of political correctness from people that are not in the situation, nor have they ever been in the situation. Things that fit in a very specific, terrible situation that apply to a very specific group of people. So, it's important to point out that Private Duckworth was a black soldier in a segregated unit because it was part of his culture to sing call and response. Where'd that come from? So, what is the purpose of cadence? Esprit de corps? Yeah. Morale. Distraction from grueling runs. Distraction from grueling ruck marches. To keep rhythm in a group. Boredom. Yeah. You know what? Actually, I'm sure it's all of those. But what I will always remember it as is, it's where we all come together to embrace the suck. We all share the misery of being in the Army. Marching sucks. It does. PT sucks. It's too early. It's a waste of time. I could just let me go to the gym and I can do all this in half the time. Layouts. Layouts suck. Oh, and cleaning for 3 hours because stupid ass leadership has nothing for you to do. Oh, well, let's send them home early. No, that would be terrible. Oh, well, let's spend that time training or learning something useful. Oh, no. Yeah. Cadence, we all just embrace the misery. I think cadences are important. It gives us the opportunity to talk shit about leadership about military life in general, about the specific, unique things that apply to us. Also, we get to talk shit about other MOSs. Now, an MOS, it's like a job title. Different types of soldiers. Cavalry, artillery, infantry, tankers, mechanic, military police, supply, signal corps. Signal corps handles radios. Yes. That's super important. And yes, they're all important, right? Now, tankers, my golly gee goodness. I think I'm doing a good job not cussing in this video. I have so many cadences about tankers that are so mean, so funny, and mostly true. But when it comes down to it, I love my tanker brothers. In fact, if I'm ever again in a situation where I need some armor support, please, tanker brothers, bring me some Abrams. I'm still going to make fun of you afterwards. And you're still going to make fun of me afterwards. But that's how it works. Yes, we're all in it together. But we can join together as a troop, as Charlie Troop, make fun of Bravo Troop. As Red Platoon, make fun of Blue Platoon. As Section B, make fun of Section A. Right? So on, so on. Yes. Life sucks. But this specific group of people, at least we're better than that specific group of people. That's why I think cadences, they really are important. They really do help. Oh, let's not forget the other branches. The Marines, the Navy, the Air Force. And I was in the Army, so for those that weren't, the Army. Oh man, we say some horrible shit about each other. Now, much like the other MOSs, I want to point out, I love the Air Force. I mean, I talk into a radio, and then an entire mountaintop of people shooting at me turns into a bonfire. No s'mores, but no gunfire. Yes, please. I love the Air Force. Still gonna make fun of you, though. And the Navy. You guys control the ocean. And so many things make it to me because of the shit you do. So yes, thank you oh so very much for the artillery and the planes that make it to me to make my life better. I love you guys and what you do. Still can make fun of you and your fucking Cracker Jack box fucking uniforms. I was in the Army, so I'm not going to do a whole thing about what the Army does and blah, blah, blah. Who am I leaving out? Am I forgetting someone? damn it. The Coast Guard. Dude, what you guys do domestically is fantastic. I mean, number one, you protect our borders. And number two, when these horrible natural disasters come, you guys take care of my family while I'm away. Thank you. Seriously. That's cool. Am I leaving anyone out? Boy Scouts. No. Although, thank you guys for what you taught me. Nope. That's all the branches of the military. The more time passes from my retirement from service, the more I miss certain things. Being honest with myself, I actually miss the annoying things. Well, actually, I think I miss cadences. Not the actual cadences, but what they stood for. The pain, the misery. I miss being able. I miss being able to share my pain and misery with someone. It was a really nice feeling to know that no matter what, I'm not alone. There are others that are suffering with me. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me ramble on drunk. It really does help my drunken therapy. So if you have any particular cadences that you like, throw them in the comments. If you have any questions about cadences or just military life, toss them in the comments. If you have any questions about why the color red is terrible, seriously, thank you. You are fucking awesome. And the color red really does suck. Now, I would like to read, not sing, the words to the cadence as recorded by Colonel Lentz. So, I'm assuming they were cleaned up before written down. But, the Duckworth chant. The heads are up, the chests are out, the arms are swinging. Let's go back and count some more. I had a good home, but I left. You're right. I had a good home, but I left. You're right. Jody was there when I left. You're right. Jody was there when I left. You're right. I left a gal away out west. I thought this army life was best. Now she's someone else's wife, and I'll be marching the rest of my life. I had a good home, but I left. You're right. I had a good home, but I... Right, that gets repeated. The captain rides in a Jeep. The general rides in a limousine. But we're just out of luck. I had a good home, but I left. You're right. The heads are up, the chests are out, the arms are swinging. Had a good home, but I left it up. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's go back and count some mo. 1944 and it still seems accurate. And 2017.